just put together sort of a list of some things that we're working on that you probably all know about, maybe update you a little bit on. You know about the Voice Project. We're very excited about this. This is something we've been, as I said during the news conference today, it really started as a result of a luncheon I was out with Ted, and it was an attorney in his 60s who was so polite and thoughtful in the way he said, I just don't think that city government listens to its residents. And it didn't come from some guy beating a podium at the end of a public hearing. He was really thoughtful and considerate about how he posed the question. So it just kind of made me think, and then I reached out to Lynn Miller-Pease at LE, and she goes, wow, it's funny you're thinking about that. Some others of us have been talking about that. And so at that point, I committed to her that if I won, I'd help lead the charge. And I'm very excited about it. When I said that they gave me goosebumps when they came to my office with their last update, I was serious. I was really taken aback by the level of commitment from the LE grads, and I think it's going to be really phenomenal. I think you made the observation, and you're probably right. We'll have to overcome some skepticism, but I think that's okay. I think as a community, we're at a new stage in our life, and we ought to be able to take on new ideas and go beyond skepticism. We'll have to show some early wins. I realize that, and we'll work hard to find those wins. I think one of the most important parts about the Voice Project is how we re-engage the citizens that come and are part of the process initially. We don't want people to come to one session and feel like, oh, they're done with us now. We want to re-engage them and make them part of the solution, part of the execution of some of these ideas that are voiced. So I think that's going to be really, really important. We have the first 7 meetings scheduled, and they're on the Evansville Voice website. And at the end of those 7 meetings, we'll evaluate where we are with that, how the process is working. Do we have the diversity of thought and participation that we need to? And if not, we'll go out and have as many meetings as we need to get that. So I think it's a great opportunity for the city. Couldn't be more excited about that. Working a lot on economic development prospects. We have, seems like, daily conversations with either leadership from Gage or the coalition. Right now there are probably 20 or 22 active economic development prospects that we're working on with Gage. A handful of them we would consider to be hot, in that we think we like our business, and we think in the next month or two we may get favorable news on those. So I think that's good. We're starting to see, I think, an uptick in interest based on from site selectors. So from an economic standpoint, from an economy standpoint, I think that's a good thing for the city. Unification obviously is starting to roll out. Everyone knows I'm a strong proponent of it. This Friday night I'll be hosting a dinner with some folks to try and sell them on the merits of unified government. It's going to be like any other political campaign. Each side will be trying to raise money, and each side will be trying to get their message out. And we'll have a community comment I'd like for y'all to consider running on a Sunday, maybe in another week or so. We've gone through a couple drafts. I'm not quite happy with it yet, but we would really appreciate that. Clean Evansville is going very well. We have our next Clean Evansville event this Saturday. This will be our 8th, and we've had 1,100 plus volunteers in that time. We have another 100 plus signed up for Saturday. We picked up more than 13,000 pounds of litter, which is just amazing to me. Steve and I picked up 3 pieces of litter in your front yard as we walked in here, actually. But I think the message is starting to get out. We've had people, I had a woman who is a promoter of shows in the office 6 weeks ago or so. She was from Michigan, I believe. And she goes, "You have the cleanest city." I said, "Well, thank you. We're working on that." And so I think the whole message of awareness and pick up litter is catching on. Fitness in the parks, we've gotten really great anecdotal feedback from the public on that. I was really pleased with Streets Alive, where we closed off Fulton Avenue for a little over a mile in June. I'm confident we had 2,000 plus people there. That day I did everything from, well, I skateboarded and I did not fall, thankfully. I Zumbaed. I still don't really get Zumba, but people like it. So this, in August we have, it's August 18th is the August version of Energize Evansville. It's at Garvin Park, and we'll be doing a Kid Fit program. We'll be doing Zumba for beginners, advanced Zumba, and yoga. And again, all this is free, and we've got volunteers from all the competing gyms in town, and they put aside their competitive differences and they come together and offer these classes free to the public, anyone who's interested. Very excited about that, and we have actually the dates scheduled for the balance of the year on the rest of Energize Evansville. So we're trying to use, we won't use all of the city parks obviously in this time, but we're going to use the Greenway, we're going to use Lloyd Pool, we're going to use Swander. When it gets cold, we're going to use the National Guard Armory one day. So, but getting great feedback on that. Downtown Hotel, we're making good progress. The requests for qualifications are due back to the city by August 6th. And I can tell you, based on the feedback we're getting from our consultant, I think we're going to get a look at, we have some really well-qualified developers who have a keen interest in working on this project. So I'm very hopeful on that. Sort of the rest of the timeline there, August 21st, we're looking at doing an RFP to be issued to qualified RFQ responders. We'll ask the RFPs be due back by October 1st, and on November 6th we hope to actually select a developer. Robert Stadium, you all know where that stands. Like the editorial cartoon this morning, it was cute. In fact, I think I printed out just before I left. No, I didn't. I didn't show it to anybody. Wilson Auction folks are getting great feedback. They've done pre-mailers and pre-registered folks to bid. They've gotten all kinds of interest on the big items, including the basketball floor. Last I heard, there were 3 potentially interested parties in the entire floor. The restaurant equipment, food service equipment is showing a great deal of interest. So we expect that will go. I'm anxious to see how that goes. One thing that probably may or may not be on your radar, but it's certainly on ours, is the Lloyd and US 41 interchange. You may recall sometime, oh my gosh, last spring, February of 11, NDOT came back and said, you know, we're not going to do a full cloverleaf, we're going to do a partial cloverleaf, and we're going to take those 2 lights off the Lloyd Expressway, and we're going to put 2 more on 41 between Virginia and Walnut. And the response, I think, was universally how stupid that was. So we have communicated to, I mean, I've talked to the governor personally, I've talked to Commissioner Klein at NDOT on multiple occasions. We're dealing with, I would say, high-level folks at NDOT. I would hope sometime this summer we'll have an announcement that I think the city of Evansville and the community will embrace a lot. We are holding out for a full interchange. I just told the governor point blank that it didn't matter who was mayor of Evansville, whether they were a Republican, a Democrat, a Libertarian, whomever. I can't imagine anyone wanting a new interchange there that puts 2 more lights on 41. So I think that message is finally being heard. So hopefully we'll have some good news on that. I hope this month. We hope. You know, today's the 1st of August. Renew Evansville, John. You're getting to become greatly acquainted with our sewer system. You know, yesterday was one step in the process. We had to have a draft plan to the Department of Justice and EPA by yesterday. That starts a 60-day window of public discussion, and then the feds have to rule on the acceptability of our plan by sometime around early November, and then we'll have 20 years as it stands today to implement the plan, whatever is finalized. It will be the largest public works project in the city's history. We know it will cost north of $200 million. Final price tag to be determined, but we know it'll be at least that much. But one thing we know we'll get, we know we'll fix the B slough problem for sure. That is a big price tag of, to fix B slough alone is about a $100 million project, but that is one element of our long-term control plan that the feds will embrace. So a lot more to come on that. That will be a dynamic story, I think, over the next several months. LST, early on, we hadn't been in office probably a few weeks, maybe a month. We sat down with the leadership of LST to figure out what we can do to keep them there. At that time, they told us that other communities would be interested in pursuing the LST at the conclusion of their contract here. So the fact that Jeffersonville and Peoria have raised their hands publicly has not been a surprise to us. We were a little surprised that the city of Jeffersonville put out a news release saying they were going after it with the vigor that they were, but nothing has really, other than that, has really surprised us in the process. We've had some really good meetings with the LST folks. I think that I'm confident that we can keep them. We've offered some things that we think they need and want, that we think that we can offer that won't cost the city much money or just a little effort, maybe a little TLC. I think one of the issues they have, honestly, is, and they recognize it, they're not as engaged in the community, especially the corporate community. They're not sophisticated fundraisers. They're not sophisticated membership drivers, going out and getting memberships for it, and they recognize that they need to improve there. In my personal background, I think will help them in that regard.
Is it certain that if the LST stays here, that the dock would stay where it is and the boat would stay there? Any thought to moving it?
There's been no discussion of moving it.
Going back to the economic development issue, you said you've got 20 or so prospects. When you say prospects, do you mean new companies or existing companies?
Some are, it's a combination of both, actually. Combination of both. And that would mean, for those that are here, a retention and then additional jobs that we're talking to them about.
Is that a normal number, or is that up? Do you know?
I would just tell you, since I was a commissioner, I would tell you that's a fairly normal number. And really, I never really I never really asked anyone how hot things were. But the jobs team feel pretty confident that handful of numbers are really hot and could pop in the next 30 to 60 days.